name is Jimmy Janlén, and I'm part of the consultancy boutique Crisp in Stockholm. And first I want to thank Agila for inviting me to be part of their Christmas calendar 2019. So, today's episode is about me claiming that there is only 10 different ways a group can make a decision. Well, actually, a few weeks ago, I was at a conference and I met James Priest, a friend of mine in the Agile community. I presented him the list and he actually thought of an 11th one. So I might need to revise it, but let's come back to this at the end. So, what's the first one? Well, the first one I call power. And power is the act of someone in the room feeling they have the authority to make the decision over others. For example, the boss with the long title, or the senior architect, or maybe the grumpy person who had no coffee in the morning. Well, someone steps in, stops the conversation or aborts the negotiations and just proclaims that the decision has been made. The second one, which we are very familiar with here in Sweden, consensus. We talk about it, we discuss, we debate until we all agree that the proposed suggestion is the best one. Can take a very, very long time, but the decision made is super strong. The third one is a variant of consensus called consent. The proposal is accepted in the absence of qualified objections. So, what's a qualified objection? Well, I just don't like this. It's not qualified objection. A qualified objection is something in the terms like, well, if we do this bad consequence might happen, or we run this risk and we need to mitigate it, and we improve on the proposal until there are no more objections. Number 4, vote. We simply vote. Each person gets a dot or 3 dots or whatever, and the most popular proposal wins. We can have strong majority, 2/3 needs to vote on the winner, or we simply have the popular majority. Backside of this is of course that some people might feel like losers because their proposal didn't win, and might even work against the decision later on. Then of course we can delegate. We can delegate the work and the mandate to make the decision to a smaller group. We can do this by nominating 2 to 3 people in whom we trust, and we give them the trust to make the decision, and we will all respect it. Instead of nominating, we can ask for volunteers. We might not maybe sometimes get the most competent people in the group, but we will, however, have the most passionate ones in the group. So that's great, right? And you can also appoint. But I categorize this under power, because it usually goes something like this. Hey you, Maria, you don't have too much to do next week, right? Can you take on this task? So I'm kind of just handing it over as if I have power to do so. Some decisions we actually take using randomness. For example, who should start presenting? We maybe spin a pen, or trivial decisions like that. But we also use it for when it's very crucial. For example, we need to choose between A and B, and the voting ended up with a tie. So if we can't leave the room without a decision, we might decide to flip a coin. Random, right? So we use this in the extremes, for irrelevant decisions, or for crucial ones, where we can't leave things as they are. And then we have algorithm. So instead of debating and discussing, we simply use an algorithm. For example, we might have a list of names, and to figure out whose turn it is to buy the Wednesday snacks, we just go through the list and rotate. We might prioritize the backlog using story points and cost of delay. and that will rule the order of the backlog, and so on. However, there's something weird going on here. When we use the algorithm, random and so on, how do we decide how the algorithm should look like? Do we decide by consensus, consent, voting, or power? So some of these are fractal. And then we have the category of emergent norm. Let's pretend someone did something in the midst of chaos and it turned to work out. The next time around, another person encounters a similar problem, and they simply kind of copy it or are inspired by that previous approach. And then later on, sometime along the line, this guideline principle practice is captured in the internal wiki page, as if a decision was made that that's the best practice to do things. Happily, this is the way we usually work, because without it, everything would take forever. However, decisions made, or emergent decisions, justifies to be questioned as much as any other decision. And finally, I guess this is a bit of a cheat, we have status quo, accepting things for what they are. So if we fail to reach an agreement within the specified time, we can decide that we failed to make a decision, and if that's the case, tomorrow we'll have the same problems or challenges as today. Sometimes, however, just stating that brings more energy into the room and into the group, so they might actually reach another decision. So what was the 11th one then? Well, I'm still gonna call this list 10 ways to make a decision, because I don't recommend the 11th one to everyone, but however, it is a valid strategy. You can have a competition, for example, a boxing fight, or a soccer game, or a game of tic-tac-toe, or something else, and the winner decides the path forward. So yeah, but no, I don't recommend that. Fighting at work. So, that's it. Thank you for listening, and Merry Christmas!